Urban legends are a form of folklore passed down through communities, typically orally. And with the explosive popularity of the internet and several different types of social media in the early 2000s, several urban legends have been able to far surpass their local communities and have been able to reach wider audiences, like today's topic, the Pope Lick Monster. We journey to Kentucky, to the Fisherville neighborhood of Louisville. Here we can find the Pope Lick Trestle, home of the Pope Lick Monster. The trestle was built in the late 1800s. With a height of 90 feet and spanning 772 feet, it crosses over not only the Pope Lick Creek, but also South Pope Lick Road. The trestle looks old and rusted, but it is still in use today, with as many as 25 heavy freight trains passing over it daily. And the railroad is owned by Norfolk Southern. These kinds of details will be more important later on. They'll help add a little bit more to what I'll explain. But let's go back to the star of the video, the Pope Lick Monster. The origins of the legend itself were hard to pinpoint. However, I was able to find that stories about the monster have existed since about the 1960s. And since the legend's inception, the description and origins of the monster have changed a couple of times. Originally described as half man, half sheep. Later, at some point, it was changed to half man, half goat. I guess because goats are kind of seen as more demonic than sheep. Sheep are seen as more of a sign, or rather a symbol of innocence. The monster itself is described to have a white face with horns, wide-set eyes, the irises of sheep or goat, which if you've ever seen, looks kind of creepy. The monster also has a snout, greasy, brown, hairy body. It walks upright on hoofs, has human-like hands, obviously. The half man, half goat sheep really showing off. Now, the monster himself also has several powers that the legends describe. These powers include being incredibly fast and strong. It can mimic voices, and it can hypnotize you. The mimicking voices and hypnotizing it uses to draw you to the top of the trestle, which through its hypnosis can make you throw yourself off of the trestle, or it'll have you just stand there until a train hits you. Or some legends even say it just jumps out at you and it's apparently so ugly and horrifying, you throw yourself off of the trestle. Imagine that. Imagine being that ugly. And then some of the legends also like to say that it carries around a bloody axe, which it will use on people. Now let's get into the origins of the monster, which has changed a couple of times over the many years. First one I could find involves a farmer committing bestiality, planting the parsnips, if you will, which led to a grotesque monstrosity being born. Another origin also talked about a farmer. This time it involved a farmer making a pact with the devil, and when he died, he was apparently resurrected back as this half-goat sheep monster creature. And then we have the most recent of the origins, which involves a traveling circus, one of the sideshow freaks happening to be some kind of goat man, who was constantly abused by the head of the circus, and after so much time, at one point they ended up passing over the trestle, and the train had derailed, crashing all around the trestle. The goat man had apparently been set free from his cage, still alive and hungering for revenge, so he found himself an axe, went around and started killing everybody he could find that was associated with the circus. And according to the legend, no bodies were found, just a bunch of blood and derailed train bits, which, would be fun to investigate as a police officer out in the creepy-ass woods. The monster is said to live in the woods surrounding the trestle, and apparently likes to hang out either on top of the trestle or in the creek down below. It's also said that crossing the trestle or just going on the trestle is a great way to summon him, which, if he's going to kill you, throw you off, or scare you off, probably not a good idea to go up there. It's also said that the goat man likes to jump down from the trestle on top of people's cars, which, if you do the math, goat man, let's say he's like 6 feet and being an adult, jumping down from 90 feet, landing on your vehicle, he's probably going to go through the roof, if not cause a great big dent in it and probably injure himself or get stuck. And imagine driving home and bringing the goat man back. Be a great family experience. Over the many years since the goat man's legend has begun, many young teens and college students would visit the trestle to essentially test the legend. They would either go up there to show how brave they are, scare their girlfriends, or impress their friends. It was generally seen as a rite of passage for some of the school systems whose students would visit the area. This is an example of legend tripping, the act of visiting an area tied to an urban legend. For a lot of people doing this, it's the experience that they really want and that really matters. And having these experiences helps keep the legends alive. A lot of the people, especially when I've read about stuff and done my research of people visiting the trestle, they talk more about their experience at the trestle than they actually do about the monster. Many of the people who have visited the trestle and the surrounding woods describe it as creepy, eerie, you feel like you're being watched, and it makes sense given the location. And all of this visiting the trestle and enjoying the experience sounds like innocent teen and college fun, until you remember that the trestle is very much active and very dangerous. Something the locals know a lot about, which is why typically when you do have people visiting the trestle, it's school kids from outside the area. And now we're going to get into some of those dangers. A lot of the people that have gone up on the trestle have said that when the trains do come, they come fast and they seem to come out of nowhere. And a lot of people have also said that the hills and surrounding forests around the trestle seem to dampen any sounds or lights of the oncoming trains, making it harder for you to realize there's a train coming, giving you less time to get out of the way. The trestle itself has no kind of railings or bits on the sides of it where you can just hide from a train or stay on and wait for the train to pass. I mean, just look at the pictures of the trestle. It's very dangerous. If a train is coming at you, you have a couple options. You could try to run to one of the ends of the trestle and get to safety. Granted, there's no platform directly underneath the planks that make up the railroad, and they're spaced apart in a way where you have to, if you run, you have to look down and watch your step. Otherwise, your foot could get caught and fall through. And when there's a speeding train coming at you, every second counts. You could hang off the sides. However, some trains take about 5 to 7 minutes to pass, and the strong vibrations they create can make it very difficult for most people to hang on. You could also try laying flat on the tracks and hoping the train just passes over you without clipping you in any way. Also very dangerous, and probably won't succeed in trying it. And if you don't manage to do any of those things, you're going to get hit by a speeding train. And if the hit doesn't kill you, you might get launched off of the trestle, and you're talking about falling maybe 90 feet maximum down into either a shallow creek or the roadway, rocks, trees. It's not going to be a good time. Since the trestle was built, there have been multiple injuries and deaths, which I found as many as I could, and we're going to get into them. So bear with me, there are several to go through. The earliest I could find was 1984. One Sean Fleischman, 20-year-old, had fallen from the trestle, but he managed to survive with injuries. Then we have June 1st, 1985. John K. List was struck by a train and died while on the trestle with a friend, Randall Graves, who survived by hanging onto the side of the trestle while the train passed. Both were apparently up there shooting crows when the train approached, and neither of them saw it coming or heard it coming. May 1986, we have David Wayne Bryant, 19-year-old. He suffered severe injuries after he jumped from the trestle to avoid an oncoming train. Unfortunately for him, he would die a year later from his injuries in 1987. February 18th, 1988, Jack Charles Baum II, a 17-year-old, was crossing the trestle with a friend when a train came by. Jack was unfortunately struck and killed. His friend survived. October 1992, Kevin Grady, 19-year-old, was walking across the trestle when a train approached. He tried to hang off the side of the trestle but lost his grip and fell. Lucky for him, he survived with only minor injuries. December 1993, Christina Butts, 19-year-old, and friends David Smith, 21, Robert Gray, 20, and an unnamed 17-year-old were attempting to cross the trestle at night when a train came by. They all ran, but fell and clung to the sides of the trestle. Everyone except Christina were able to climb down to safety. Christina was too scared to climb down and had to be rescued by firefighters, which apparently at the time, 1993, their firefighter truck had just enough fully extended ladder to actually reach her spot. Had she been any higher, they wouldn't have been able to reach her. 1994, we have Michael Wells, a 14-year-old. He survived an oncoming train by ducking under it as it passed over him. Holy crap, you can actually survive that way? Wow. I'm impressed. April 18th, 1994, James F. Bratman, a 35-year-old, was driving his ATV by the tracks near the trestle when it flipped on the tracks, trapping him. Unfortunately, a train came by and struck and killed him while he was stuck on the tracks under his ATV. November 6th, 2000, Nicholas Joel, 19-year-old, was attempting to cross the trestle and ended up falling from the trestle to his death after trying to avoid an oncoming train. 4 of his friends that were with him told authorities that Nicholas was about halfway across the trestle when the train came by. Nicholas tried to hang off the sides of the trestle, but lost his grip from all the strong vibrations created by the passing train. April 23rd, 2016, Raquel Bain, 26, and her boyfriend, David Nee, 41, were on the trestle at night looking for the Poplick monster. The only thing they found, however, was a train approaching them. David managed to hang off the side of the trestle and survive. However, the same could not be said about Raquel. She was hit by the train and thrown off, falling about 80 feet to her death. David was later charged with trespassing on railroad property, a misdemeanor. He ended up pleading guilty and received 2 years of probation, plus he had to pay Norfolk Southern $2,300 in restitutions for disrupting the train operations. This was actually the only instance where I found people had gone up on the trestle specifically looking for the monster. All other news stuff I could find had no mention of the monster itself, just that people were up by the trestle. May 26, 2019, this is our most recent one. A girl named Savannah Bright, 15-year-old, died after being hit by a train while on the tracks with her friend, Kaylee Keening, 16-year-old. Kaylee survived with serious injuries, whereas young Savannah died. So we have a creepy location that's also very dangerous. It's no wonder that a legend came about from this area. And I feel like the real Poplick monster of the trestle is really all the oncoming trains. Now, with all the deaths and injuries, you wonder if anything has been done or should have been done to prevent them. We're going to look into that as well. So as I mentioned before, Norfolk Southern owns the trestle and the train tracks as they conduct their operations. So what have they done? Well, around 1989, they did put up an 8-foot fence, some barbed wire. They have multiple signs posted that also say no trespassing, that the area is dangerous, that you'll get fined or arrested. And at one point, I found that there were platforms on the sides of the trestle itself, essentially a spot where you can stand off safely as a train passed, but Norfolk Southern had elected to remove them to try to deter more people from going up there. And as we've seen with all the deaths, it didn't really stop anybody from going up there. It kind of just made it more dangerous. A lot of people have said, from what I've read, that Norfolk Southern haven't done enough. And then you have Norfolk Southern saying, it's a dangerous area, people shouldn't be going up there. We have signs, we have a fence. We can't stop everybody from ignoring that and going up there, which, what do you think? It's no surprise that with all the deaths and injuries, Norfolk Southern have been sued multiple times. We can't talk about the Pope Lick Monster without at least mentioning the short film that was made about him, called The Legend of the Pope Lick Monster. Directed by Ron Schildknecht, I'm sorry if I pronounced your last name wrong, who also wrote, produced, and edited the film. The film had premiered in December 29th, 1988 at the Uptown Theater in Louisville. Ron spent a lot of his time researching the monster and the legend before he did the actual film. The film starred Clancy Dixon as Clancy, and he also played the Sheep Man, which is what the movie referred to him as, seeing as the time that Ron had done his research, everybody in the area was referring to the monster as the Sheep Man. The film also starred Ben Algier as Ben, and Beth Kirchner as Katie. You can find the film on YouTube, and if I recall, I'll try to put a link to it down in the pinned comment if you want to give it a watch. It's a short film. It's only like 16-17 minutes long, like a good YouTube video length. Personally, I enjoyed the film. I found it entertaining. I like the monster design. I'm always a sucker for short films, small budget type movies, and monster movies. I'm a big fan of horror. Our old pals at Norfolk Southern were not happy about the film's release. They were afraid that more people would go up on the trestle looking for the monster and get themselves hurt or killed, which would lead to more train disruptions, business disruption, and lawsuits, of course. And remember that 8-foot fence I mentioned that they put up in 1989 or around there? Yeah, they put it up in response to this film, which, personally, if there's a railroad that's highly active and dangerous, I would have put a fence up a long time ago and not wait till some movie's coming out. Land around the trestle today was bought up by the Parklands of Floyd's Fork organization, which created walking paths through the area, connecting it all into several parks that form one big 19-mile loop. The pathing itself actually heads under the trestle, so if you ever want to visit the area and see the trestle, there's a park path that takes you right under. Gets you a nice safe spot to observe the area and take in the spookiness. You don't have to go up and experience real danger. The area also hosts several Halloween events that involve the legend. Things like haunted walks, and I believe they do also escape room types, but out by the trestle and on the pathing, which I think is really cool. Big fan of horror-related things, and escape rooms are also very fun. This was a very fun legend to research. I was actually originally thinking of doing a cryptid for the next video, and I saw Pope Lick Monster, and I thought, alright, I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it, so let me look into it, and it turns out it's just an urban legend. Next video will definitely be on a cryptid. That'll be fun. And just a friendly reminder, if you're in the area, Don't go up on the trestle. Don't trespass. It's illegal. It's dangerous. You don't want to get yourself killed or charged with any crimes. Let me know what you think down below in the comments about the legend. Have you heard of it? What did you think of it? Ever visit the area? Would love to hear from anybody that's been in the actual area. If I lived closer, I'd certainly experience it for myself. Yeah. Hope you liked the video. Maybe subscribe if you want to see more. I have so many topics that I'm ready to do. And, of course, I'll always take suggestions. And don't forget to leave a like if you liked the video. Or a dislike if you didn't like it. I understand. And until next time, see ya.